Hey everyone, welcome back to Yals Truly. This is Simon here, joined by my co-host Zach, and we also have a special guest today. Kyle's joining us. Royals are doing pretty well down there in Arizona for spring training, but we're going to start it off with a pretty significant storyline. It's going to have a pretty big impact on the 2019 Royals. I'm sure you guys have all heard by now. Salvador Perez underwent Tommy John surgery to repair UCL damage and is going to miss the entire 2019 season. Obviously, pretty devastating to hear before the year. Zach, what were your initial thoughts on hearing this?
It's unfortunate. I mean, I didn't believe it at first because it wasn't official, at least for the first week. But we're going to miss his presence. He brings a lot of energy. And yeah, but baseball's a team sport, so
yeah, I mean,
we'll get to it.
He'll be there cheering the team on in the dugout still. He'll still have that, presence with the team, which I think is important.
Yeah, I agree. Perez has been, I guess you could say he's been regressing a little bit at the plate the past few years. Obviously, he still hits for a lot of power, but I mean, you saw last year how wild of a swinger he was. I mean, not that he's always been a wild free swinger, but yeah, it's kind of gotten worse in recent years.
I kind of think the league is, kind of figuring out how to pitch to him, and they kind of know how to get him to fish for some of those pitches. We've definitely seen that over the few years, and he's biting.
Yeah, he's got a lot of pride too. He doesn't want to lay off those pitches. Usually down and away, some sort of slider eats him up every time. But I do think, I think his offense is not going to say it's necessarily bad. There's obviously the power numbers are going to be missed, but we're definitely going to miss his presence, kind of as an on-field leader and also definitely behind the plate because wins Gold Gloves, pretty much, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in a row now.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to be severely missed. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing you'll kind of see over the course of a year of where this is really going to hurt the Royals.
You know what, though? I think it's going to hurt us short term a little bit, but Maldonado, that's not a bad signing. And we give Salvi some time to rest his knees. We know he's had knee problems for the last couple of years. He finally gets a chance to recuperate fully. I think it could help us down the stretch, honestly.
Yeah, maybe this will be the start to extending his career at catcher, kind of like how Yadi's done with St. Louis. And we mentioned Maldonado. I thought that was a really good signing. I don't know it's going to be probably a rough year, and I don't know if I would have wanted to deal with watching Cam Gallagher and Valoria split time all season. That just sounds awful.
Yeah, those guys are they're young, they're learning. We needed that veteran catcher. That's what Maldonado gives us. He gives us some structure. I think it's great. He's 32. The signing was not, we didn't throw a lot of money out there. It's a 1-year deal. Obviously, Salvi will be coming back. Maldonado can get some reps. Maybe, who knows, maybe the trade deadline, things get interesting. He has a good season. We, get a good deal for him. And then Gallagher, maybe get some reps.
That's what I was thinking about Maldonado.
He won a Gold Glove in 2017. And he has a strong arm, so yeah, he brings the experience.
You can actually probably I don't even know. I would actually think, Salvador Perez is probably a better overall defensive catcher than Maldonado is, but I think Maldonado has a stronger arm than Perez does. Just in terms of arm. I don't know if I would take his pitch calling and his range, as far as, avoiding pass balls over Perez, but just in terms of throwing runners out, doesn't get a whole lot better than Maldonado. Then that's where I think that signing is really going to come in big because, yes, Maldonado's had some struggles behind the plate. Typically hits around 230, 14, 15 home runs, in a season.
He doesn't have the power Perez has. That'll be the one thing we miss.
Yeah. Just offensively, he's not great. Of course, there's a lot of catchers around the league who aren't necessarily great, but, I think his defense is really going to make a difference. At least, he's not Perez, but he's going to be serviceable behind the plate, which I don't know if we could have really for sure counted on Gallagher or Valoria, the combination of the two throughout the year. But I think you have to feel a little more solidified with that.
Well, yeah, clearly this signing was the front office showing they don't truly believe in Valoria just yet.
Oh, they don't want to make the same mistake they made with Mondesi, which is rush him up here, and he looked overwhelmed at the plate, ruined his confidence. I really think that set him back at least a year. So I think this is a great signing. I think another thing I look at is pitch framing, which is talked about a lot, and some people argue, and I have to kind of agree that Maldonado's pitch framing is not quite up to par, or not. Perez's isn't up to par, but Maldonado's, on the other hand, is actually quite good. When you look at league average, he's actually an above average pitch framer, which I think adds more value.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's been the one complaint I've heard over the years about Perez. He kind of gets, I feel like Perez often, he kind of gets tied in. Like, everyone just assumes he's like such an amazing pitch framer because he's good at like all the other defensive catching tools. So everyone just got to, they got to throw in, oh, he's a good pitch framer too, just because, he's great at blocking balls and throwing runners out. But yeah, that's always been a little bit of a myth. If you actually really look at it, he's pretty below average.
Actually,
really.
Now that I think about it, you really never really see him hold it when he gets it. He pulls his hand back right away.
Yeah, and that's one of the arguments you see that kind of reduces his value. Of course, he's a great, valuable character, amazing asset, good. But, that's the one thing. It's like everyone's always said he can improve on, and, so we're really picking the nitty-gritty there.
I'm just worried about the young pitchers. They're going to have to get used to a new catcher. I mean, they're used to Salvi, so I hope that doesn't throw them off.
That's a good point, but for a lot of arms on this team, they haven't really been necessarily pitching to Salvi. I mean, say someone like Duffy, he's that's going to be a bit of a challenge for someone like him. But guys like Keller, he's been pitching to primarily different catchers throughout his minor league career. It's just almost going to be like another year for a guy like that, for example, considering we have a lot of young pitchers on the staff. But, more veteran pitchers who have been on the Royals for some time, who've gotten used to Salvi. That's definitely, that'll definitely be something to watch.
Here. So another thing I was going to mention now. Of course, I forget it. We're going to miss the power, but the DRS, defensive runs saved and all that. Maldonado in 2018 was worth just about as much as Perez, and Perez was 10.7. Maldonado averaged 11.3. So there you go. I mean, this you read the Sully headline, and you just think that's the end of the world, season over. But I really think this signing instills a lot of hope, and I think it can both service Maldonado and the Royals. So I'm excited.
Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like a good and bad might even out, and it actually won't be that big of an issue.
I think one area of frustration we will probably see with Maldonado is like Perez, he's a pretty free swinger as well. I'm looking at his on base percentages, not very good. 276 throughout 2018 and 2017. Pretty good and under decent in 16 with Milwaukee, 332. But he doesn't have the best slugging splits on base.
We're not really looking for, you're looking at it. We're just looking for a guy who can give us some veteran presence and stability. If we have the numbers, like, if he gets on base more, hits more home runs, that's just added value. We're really just looking at him for the defensive prospects, just to keep us, in games. That's very important.
I agree. And, I think, like you said, I think it's a great point you made earlier. Gallagher and Valoria, I really don't know about Valoria, but I do think Gallagher has some decent potential for the future. He's not ready to be a starting catcher throughout an 162 game season. That could severely, mess up his development. I think this is just a great move. I mean, obviously we've been pretty critical of Dayton Moore. That doesn't really seem like it seems like he's kind of hesitant to pull the trigger on some moves that maybe should be done, but I give him a lot of credit. I mean, Zach was actually telling me, he mentioned his name. I didn't know how realistic it would have been, but sure enough, a few days later, he kind of called that. So
well, they were in contact with him literally like 20 minutes after the news broke. And then it took a while, but when it was actually verified that he was going to be out, then we signed him like a day later.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And, he's going to be playing his heart out for us. He sees us a 1-year stint. Maybe not even if we trade him. But this is a good chance for him to showcase what he has with kind of a team that's trying to get back into contention. Who knows? Maybe not this year, but coming up. So, he'll really be taking this opportunity seriously. He'll be giving his all, which I like that. And we didn't give him a ton of money, but there's some bonus money there for incentives. Like, I can't remember, it was like $1.5 million or something for bonus incentives. If he performs over what we signed him for, that's a good deal both ways.
Yeah, he's only 32, so he has something to prove, clearly.
Yeah, that he can still run with the young cheetahs, if you will.
Yep.
Well, but, anyway, look at, he's got big shoes to fill. People will be very critical of him, and I think people just have to kind of give him a chance. Don't jump down his throat immediately, especially, I think he's not getting the full spring training exactly, because we just got him. There's a lot of things that have to be sorted out. So I think that first month of real play, you could definitely see him running out to the pitcher's man a lot of communication issues, just as he's, trying to learn the system, the pitchers. That's a lot of work to do in, a month, if that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, but I do think with more veteran players, as their careers go on, spring training, obviously I'm not going to say it's unimportant, but they're pretty well versed in training regiments, off-season regiments, what they need to do to stay ready. I don't know if missing this first part is necessarily going to affect his performance. We've seen in some cases that does happen. One time I'm thinking of is, I believe in 2014, the Twins, they signed Kendrys Morales in the middle of the year, basically like in June, and he was pretty awful for the rest of the year. So that obviously was not good. And then you see the next year, with the Royals, he was really good. So, you think maybe in that case, the lack of spring training, definitely had a pretty drastic effect. But, in this day and age where free agency, in free agency periods that often extend well into spring training and often even past opening day, these guys are kind of aware on how to stay fresh. Who knows? Could hurt them, but I feel okay about that.
Well, but the catcher spot, that's an important, you have to be game ready for that. Mm-hmm. So you need spring training. It's different for hitters. Yeah.
And another thing you got to think about too is for instance in Danny Duffy's case, he's fighting a shoulder injury right now in spring training. It makes you wonder, we don't even have our 5 exactly set. We have an idea, but a lot could change with injuries, things like that. It could be a little trying at first.
Oh, definitely. And one thing I do think, Kyle, you mentioned this earlier. You said he may face some criticism. Yeah, I definitely think that's pretty likely, especially since Salvi's such a fan favorite amongst Royals. I think everything. This is the first real full-time catcher we've had. Obviously we've had Butera and Galley, but they're not really given any sort of expectations just because they're just seen as the backup Sunday.
Yeah, they're just out there not to screw up.
Yeah, essentially. But Maldonado, I think he's going to be held to a little bit loftier expectation, and some Royals fans probably won't be happy about certain things. I don't know. And I don't know if he's necessarily going to be the most popular Royal, unless he obviously has some huge sort of year, which to be honest, I don't really see. So that's definitely something that will be interesting. Not that it really matters, but just something to keep an eye on.
We've just been so spoiled with Salvi. His last, 7 years now? 8 years? So it's just we got to taper our expectations because we had a Gold Glove guy and an All-Star guy, and it's just going to be kind of that.
You guys keep leaving out. You keep leaving out John Buck. He was there before Salvi, and he was pretty good.
But wasn't he kind of wasn't he a little bit of a douche? I feel like one of those catchers
I think so.
Maybe it wasn't Buck. Someone else wasn't exact. Oh, I'm thinking of Kendall.
Yeah, you're thinking of Kendall.
Oh, yeah,
I'm thinking of Kendall. Yeah. Everyone hated him. Yeah.
That was a sore topic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Whenever they have him on Fox Sports Kansas City, like he's best buddies with like George Brett and everything now, and like they have to like force that agenda down our throats that he was like a likable player and stuff. I always love that.
The real ones know not.
Yeah. I don't really pay much attention to FSKC. If you notice, we were on like a hot little stretch in spring training, and then as soon as we got our televised game, we blew like a 5-run lead to the Diamondbacks. So, the Fizz jinx is back at it again.
Well, I mean, the Padres they're an exciting team. Lost to them. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
They might steal our Cactus League trophy. Who knows?
Not with Hosmer.
Yeah, no, Hosmer will ruin it for sure.
It's true. Man. So what are you guys thinking about, like, spring training, like how guys are doing? Who are you excited for? Who are you not excited for? From what you've seen so far.
I've liked what Ortega's been doing.
Yeah, Ortega.
He looks like a baseball player, and I don't even mean because he's Mexican looking. Like, he does everything right. What am I trying to say here? Like, if a runner's in scoring position, he just looks like he would knock him in. And I saw it like 3 times in one game a few days ago.
Yeah, offensively, he's been pretty exciting.
Isn't he batting like 700 or something right now? Like, I feel like he's really.
I think it's like 580.
Owings has been good too lately. That's another guy.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a great spring training.
Yeah, I don't know his exact numbers. I know he started off kind of slow, but these past week or so, he's been raking, to be honest.
Yeah, he's in the 400s, I think.
Oh man, he's really been taking off then. Because the first like 5 or 6 games, he was like 090 or something like that.
And he's a guy you can cheer for because he's had a lot of his career stolen by unfortunate injuries. So, like, to see him doing well is, it's great as a fan. It's one of those comeback stories where a guy fights back a ton of injuries and he has a great spring training. Just hope it can translate to the season.
Yeah, I was watching. I saw an at-bat of Owings, and I was surprised. Like, he's a small guy, but he has this big, like, a big, like, power stance. It's, like, sort of deceiving. Like, you look at him if you look at him from, like, the television angle with the pitcher, like, towards the front of the screen, he's big. Like, he has kind of I like his, like, plate presence. I think, I'm kind of impressed with him. I like a lot of the things he might be able to do for us this year.
I could see him hitting like 10 to 12 home runs.
Yeah, which would be a lot of power for a guy like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not necessarily a power hitter. He just has that plate presence. I don't know it's kind of like Witt in some ways. I'm definitely pretty hopeful about him.
I just worry that, spring training guys will do really well, but we know how his offensive performance was last year, which was, yikes. Don't want to get into that, but hopefully it's something that translates, maybe figured something out.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how we fit Owings into the lineup as well.
Yeah, really.
I still think we got to start him at third, but most people would say Dozier, but I'm not a big fan of him.
I kind of feel like what's going to end up happening with Owings is he's going to be like, obviously you have like your starting 9, and that's, those are your best 9 players at each position. I don't know if Owings is in that necessarily, but I have a feeling like once the season gets going, he's going to maybe play like most games. Whether like if someone has an off night, like there's a good chance he's going to be, because he can play anywhere. Like there's a good chance he's going to take their spot. So I think he's really, he's going to get a significant amount of playing time this year, even if it's not opening day starter, which is kind of just a cliche label. It doesn't necessarily hold that much weight, but we'll see.
I'm glad you bring that up, that he'll be moved around, because I do really view him as that utility, that all-in-one guy. He can kind of play every position decently. If the offensive numbers continue, even if they're like not nearly as good as they are now, but better than last year, hey, that's something.
Yeah, I could see him getting a lot of time in right field too, because I'm not sold on Goodwin. He's having an awful spring training.
There's not really a good answer for right field right now. It seems like that's definitely one of the bigger question marks, which is crazy to say because we have so many outfielders. But
I know.
Do you really feel great about Phillips? Do you really feel great about Goodwin?
Bonnie? No.
Bonnie, Soler obviously are going to get in there, but we don't like their defense.
Brett Phillips still strikes out so much. That's my problem.
Yeah. He's still got a lot to learn.
I like Brett Phillips, but I like his potential. But from what he was basically a pitcher hitting last year. Like I don't know if you can have that in the lineup every single day.
He was basically Mondesi his first few years.
Yeah, not only was he not hitting, he had an insane strikeout percentage. Like he wasn't even close. It was like I don't know the exact number, but it was like somewhere from like 40 to 50%. Like at the end of the season, I mean, he was just whiffing on everything.
That's egregious. You can't have that. You can't be a starting nine and have the strikeout rates he's had. You know, he's got to really cut down on that, or no chance. And I like him. I want to cheer for him, but it's making it difficult some nights.
And his defense is unreal. I mean, elite. But for him to get on the field and show that off, I mean, he's got to actually be able to hit a little bit. I mean, honestly, hopefully the goal is for Phillips to eventually get him up to 250, and then he's a really really good player if you factor in the defense. But I mean, just get him up to 210, make him playable. That's kind of what I'm shooting for, this season or near future.
And Zach mentions Goodwin, and I had so much hope for that signing because he had a strong 2017 season, and then some injuries happened, and now the spring training. He's in great shape, but man, I just tell you, I think he's 1 for 21. His average is abysmal. I mean, it's a small sample size, but it's not instilling a lot of confidence in me right now as a fan.
Well, yeah, after the Washington trade last year, he looked pretty good. The month and a half he played with us.
Yeah, there's some hope, and then just kind of faded.
And that's in Arizona too. That's ideal hitting conditions when he gets, when he's playing in Minnesota and on April 7th. That's not going to get much easier. So I mean, that's really not a good sign. But at the same time, Goodwin's had, he's played at the major league level for a decent amount. He's proven he can hit up here. You hope it's just a slump. I mean, I'm not saying eventually Goodwin might be the best option even this year, but yeah, definitely not good. Definitely not a good spring training for him to this point.
I like what I'm seeing from Gordon. He's batting 350. He had a nice home run yesterday. He's had 5 RBIs in the last 2 games. He's looking good.
That home run yesterday, I mean, I don't get too worked up over stats necessarily in spring training, but man, that swing looked good. I hadn't seen him get around on a ball like that in a long time.
It was a 95 mile per hour pitch, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's hit some homers the past few years, some big homers, but I don't know, that homer had it had some serious. I'd like to see all the StatCast numbers on it, but it had the bat speed looked there for the first time in a while. I mean, it's been kind of that wrist that's been slowing him up, but it looked pretty good right there. So yeah, that's a good sign.
He's looked great in the outfield. I mean, ever since that terrible groin injury we all remember as Royals fans, I think he's gotten a little faster. I want to say, even though he's getting older, it seems like he's in for another big defensive year. Bold statement, but I mean, he looks good.
Well, Gordon, he'll never be bad in the outfield.
No,
ever.
That's beautiful. I'm really happy because there were some worries with some of those injuries that might affect his ability, but I think he's proven it hasn't. He's a fighter.
Yeah, Gordon. I mean, Gordon's never been the most athletic player. It's his success in the outfield has kind of been determined by first of all, he gets amazing jumps. He reads the ball as soon as contact is made. So it gives him that extra second to kind of get to his spot. And then, he takes great routes. He's got a great physical glove. He's great at catching the ball basically. So that's kind of how he gets it done. He doesn't have that raw athleticism to just run everywhere, kind of like Phillips would or Dyson would. But yeah, he gets it done he gets it done defensively how Witt gets it done at the plate. I'd put it that way.
I've really liked his swing so far in spring training. What I've seen, like you said, wrist. He's got good wrist speed. He can really catch up to those fastballs. I mean, it's all there.
Yeah, well, if you remember after the 2015 season, he had a wrist surgery, and
Yep.
the same off season he signed his big contract with us. And that's really that surgery. If you want to look to the defining point of why he hasn't been as effective at the plate the past few years, it's been that wrist.
Yep.
He has a hard time catching up to any heat. It's gotten a little better last season. He's kind of found other ways to get on base. But man, I mean, you remember early in his career, 2013, 2012, he was a big power threat. And he was hitting everywhere. I'm not saying he's back to that, but that swing, a few of his swings I've seen in spring training, it's right there. I mean, we'll have to see, I don't know, these pitchers he's facing obviously aren't the best competition either. But we'll see. The swing's there.
I would put him third in the lineup.
Third? Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I go.
They did it last year. That's where he hits best. Obviously, he's not going to give you the power that a number 3 spot guy would, but he gets on base.
You're looking at his on base percentage. I can see it.
Yeah.
We don't have any huge power guys, a lot of them. We've got the notables, but so I could see it. And you're right, he does seem to hit better towards the top of the lineup than towards the bottom.
Yeah. I always felt like Gordon was at his best, and I mean, again, no numbers in front of me, but just kind of from what I've seen, I always felt like he looked the most comfortable leading off. Obviously, he's not going to be leading off, but I mean, yeah.
I remember when he did. Yeah, he did look pretty good leading off.
Yeah, didn't he he led the majors in leadoff homers one year, I remember, which is, kind of interesting. But, and that's another argument though. I've heard of, a lot of people are discussing whether Witt or Mondesi should lead off. What do you guys think of that?
That's hard. We have so many guys that could lead off. And you could even throw in Hamilton. I know he can't hit well, but he's super fast. He's a leadoff.
I like Hamilton at 9, personally.
Yeah, I think I'm with the 9.
Yeah.
But he has the speed of a leadoff guy, if not more.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but you've seen in the analytics age, I know Dayton Moore definitely isn't quite as into to some of the sabermetrics as many other GMs. Is the leadoff position's kind of moved to more of, I don't want to say necessarily a power hitter, but more of basically just one of your most prolific hitters. Both power and average. And, in some ways power hitter. I remember when Anthony Rizzo, when they moved him to lead off the Cubs a few years ago, that kind of started a big wave of kind of playing with that role.
Personally, I'm thinking, and my Witt is great. We're so blessed with guys at the top. Some teams thinking, oh man, who's going to lead off? They're not even really sure. We have 3 guys you could argue: Witt, Mondesi, and Hamilton. I think I'm going to go with Mondesi, actually. Kind of a road pick, because I know he's been working a lot this offseason and is improving his walk rate, so his on-base percentage will be up. Of course, he has the speed.
And he has power.
Yeah, he's proving he has plenty of power. So he kind of has everything, but I just think Mondesi, he works on that on-base percentage with his speed. He could be a great one. And then, and that would mesh well with Simon's idea in mind of putting Hamilton at 9. Is if you're at the bottom of the lineup and Hamilton gets on, Mondesi, you hit him in.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think if this was 90s or so, Hamilton might be your leadoff guy just because speed was kind of back then the main ideal you'd look for from that spot. But I don't think Hamilton's quite the hitter to be leading off personally. I don't think you want him to kind of set up be the table setter for your big bats. Yeah. Well, the more.
That is the biggest question with Hamilton is his ability to hit the top of the lineup. I definitely think that'd be the biggest question mark of the 3.
Yeah.
Well, who would you have at 4? I would probably put Soler, right? He has the most power.
That's a tough question, especially now that Salvi's out.
Yeah, because I had Salvi at 4 and then Soler at 5.
I had Salvi at 3.
3?
I had Salvi at 3 and Soler at 4. O'Hearn's probably somewhere in the mix too.
Yeah. I am Soler
my lineup 1 through 9. I would go Witt, Mondesi, Gordon, Soler, O'Hearn, Dozier. Who else am I missing? Is that 6 or 7?
That's yours. 7.
Maldonado's probably around 6 or 7.
Oh, yeah.
Say. Yeah.
And then probably, I guess, like you said, Hamilton. I'm sure I left somebody out. I can't think of them.
I think those are your big guys.
Hamilton. Yeah, well, it'd be whoever the right fielder is. So Bonifacio maybe. I don't know if he's going to play right, but he'll probably be in there too. Yeah.
Or Owen. You could throw him in.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Before Salvi got hurt, I would have said, you've been saying Gordon 3rd even before he got hurt, but I would have said I didn't agree with it then. But I think there's a decent chance Gordon could be 3rd now. That doesn't seem like a bad idea.
Yeah, if the hitting translates to from spring training, definitely.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive he's going to be in the top 4. Yost likes to do that.
This is just a weird lineup to me. Like when I'm going through this lineup, because I could actually see this being a decent offense through like one point of view. I mean, like there's like it's kind of like if this happens, you know, they could be really prolific. But then like there's also like a worst case where they could just be like awful too. Like we're counting on Mondesi like basically picking off where he did last year. And I mean, I'm confident that's going to happen, but you never know. He could have a sophomore slump of sorts. Like we're counting on it. Like we have these like kind of expectations of things that we believe are going to happen. And if it all does, then that's great. Like it's probably going to work out, but, baseball just tends to not always work like that. So I think probably what you'll see is somewhere in the middle, but
the key to the season is patience at the plate. Because all we have to do is get on base. And if we do, it's going to cause a lot of trouble.
You know, another guy we haven't talked about yet in terms of lineup is Starling. You know, he's going to Omaha right now, but things get interesting if we can't establish a good right fielder, and he does well in Omaha.
I mean, you got a point. I mean, the last podcast we were ridiculing Starling. We're just like, oh, here we go again. But I mean, he's continuing this deep into spring training now. And he's going to make it interesting. I mean, obviously that's not like the situation you want, but you know, if Goodwin can't hit, you know, I don't think Owings can necessarily be counted on as an everyday right fielder. So I don't think that's really that realistic of an option.
I think he takes Bubba Starling serious till he does it here. I don't care what he does in spring training.
It's a big argument. But I mean, the one thing you gotta like is he's only struck out 3 times so far this spring training, like 25 at bats. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good stat.
He's slashing a little over 400 for hitting, which is pretty good. But like you said, I mean, he hasn't been the healthiest, and you know, you just want to see it in Omaha, and then maybe we'll give him a shot here.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's what we were saying in the last podcast. He's raked down there in Arizona before, and then as soon as he gets back to Omaha, it's just like back down to earth, essentially. But I don't know. I mean, the thing we got to realize is it's not an ideal situation. Like, we're not going to probably get our dream right fielder this year, so maybe just have to see what we can work with at that spot. I think the best case scenario, and maybe the most realistic scenario in some ways, is that Goodwin just is good, because I think there was a definite reason. Like, that wasn't just like a throwaway trade last year. Like, I think we have a real plan for Goodwin. I mean, he's young enough to where I think he's on contract for 3 more years, so he can maybe help contend near the end there.
You just gotta stay healthy.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy. Yeah, and obviously hit. I mean, what he's batting 48 in spring training. So, but I mean, hopefully, I think that's like the best case scenario. Like that works out. Like he hits. You know, I really don't see Phillips being ready. But yeah,
he'll make. You know, he doesn't. I don't think he has any more options. So he's going to have the opportunities. So it's really in his. You know, the ball's in his court.
What do you guys think about Yals deciding Keller to be the opening day starter?
Well, beggars can't be choosers, first of all.
Yeah.
Our rotation right now is a mess. It's flat out honest.
I kind of was hoping for Junis. He looked good his last start in spring training.
Yeah.
And he's had a good spring training overall. He hasn't gotten much action, but he's been good.
He looks healthy. You know, that's a big thing with our pitchers right now is that our pitchers aren't healthy. You have Danny Duffy fighting the shoulder issue. Homer Bailey, there's some potential there. He could be having some issues because his fastball's only getting up to about 91, 92. It's getting older, but you got to wonder if he's going to get injured.
Is Duffy going to be ready for the start of the season?
That's, I'm going to side with probably not.
What's going on there? Is it just shoulder inflammation? Or I've heard about this kind of all spring training. I don't think he's pitched yet. I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. It doesn't seem like he's got any sort of definite diagnosis, but
no.
Yeah.
Well, he missed several weeks last season with shoulder injury, and all of a sudden he pitches in spring training, and his shoulder injury is back. That worries me a lot. You know, there's some shoulder tightness, and so now I'm just starting to think we got to start thinking without Duffy potentially. That's going to be a tough one to stomach.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully he just doesn't pass out any more drive-thrus this year.
I mean, if that shoulder keeps acting up, he might be hitting all the fast food joints and knocking out at him.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with Keller starting though, I'm kind of torn. I mean, because I can make an argument for, well, if Duffy's ready, I can make an argument for any of those three. But I think like objectively, Keller is probably like he's got the chance to be the best. He's got the chance to be the best pitcher for us this year. So if you look at it that way, yeah, I think it's maybe the best move. I don't know how ready he necessarily is to be an opening day starter. I don't know. I mean, I know that sounds weird because you typically just put your best guy there, but it just seems like there's a certain like undertone to that title where it's like, okay, like you're our ace, go out there, and it's a lot of pressure to put on a guy like that. And from that standpoint, I feel like if Duffy was healthy, I'd probably just give it to Duffy because he's done it before. But I don't know. I mean, I could see this working out with Keller. I think it's probably the best move.
He's young. That's one thing that kind of worries me is with these younger pitchers. It's the confidence. And now we're putting in a new catcher, Maldonado. Could be interesting. Maybe not in a good way. Maybe in a good way. I mean, he pitched like 140 innings last year, and his ERA was like around 3. That's pretty good.
We gave Duffy the start last year and gave him a 4-run lead, and then he gave up 7. So I mean, even if you're experienced, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, not always. I mean, that's usually what you want to see. It doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
But a guy who's 23 starting, you know, it is a lot of pressure. So we'll have to like hedge our criticism, you know, if things don't go well because he's so young. But I think he has a ton of potential. And I think when you look at everyone that we have pitching, is probably the best option.
Yeah, I really like Keller, like for the future. I mean, from what I saw last year, it didn't look like he was having some sort of fluky success. I know a lot of people will point to the fact that he didn't strike many out, and they'll say, oh, you know, he's getting lucky. But you saw a lot of ground balls, man. He wasn't really getting hit, a lot of soft contact. He had a great year last year for the most part. I'm a little bit worried he hasn't been great in spring training so far. But, you know, I think he's got, out of this year's staff, I could see him probably having the best year out of anyone in this rotation. So I mean, like, put a gun to my head, ask who's going to be our best starter come August, I'd say Keller. But I don't know. It's close. I don't really know.
I'd say Junis.
You say Junis?
I'm gonna go with Keller. It's a safe bet, I know, but I think that's probably your best. I mean, Junis will be right there. I think he'll be your 2. I could take it going either way. Keller, Junis. Interesting. Zimmer keeps. I know everyone keeps saying this. Zimmer
he's the starling of pitchers. Except it's more with injuries with him. But yeah,
he's a wild card.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, who knows? We've been hearing about Zimmer since 2002 or 2012. Feels like
2002 seems right.
But I mean, he's looked good. He's had 7 2/3 shutout innings, 5 strikeouts against decent hitters. I mean, you see that strikeout against Johnny Adams. That was beautiful. He had good speed. He's hit 96 on the radar gun.
I could see him starting in the bullpen. Maybe build some confidence.
Yeah, start him out there, kind of work him in.
I mean, you can never have too many arms in the bullpen.
I mean, it's crazy that we're talking about a first-round pick from this many years ago just coming into the bullpen for the first time.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
One thing I think I'm worried about Duffy though. I think I don't know, just the way this thing's shaping up. He didn't have a good year last year. I would be shocked if he had a good year this year. It just doesn't seem like it's going the right way for him lately.
And you guys both know I'm a big Danny Duffy fan.
I like Duffy a lot too.
I went to war with him over. We know Urich there. I went to war about Danny Duffy. Got in some heated conversations, but I agree with you. I don't have much confidence in how he'll do this year. It's not looking good.
Yeah. The thing about Duffy is I feel like early in his career he was like this head case, right? Like he had some flashes, but then he would get in his own head and he would implode on certain starts. And that was a big thing, at a point where he couldn't even start. So they moved him to the bullpen, and that was more of a natural role for him because bullpen guys typically have that fiery temper to them, and he kind of excelled there.
He was competitive to a fault.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then he's kind of taking the role of Ventura. The game's going well, one mistake, and it just keeps getting worse, and then the inning just gets away, and the game's over. That's how Ventura used to be.
The high heat inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always said with Duffy, you can tell, the first, I feel like you kind of get a feel first batter of the game sometimes, what kind of start it's going to be like for him. If he walks the guy, I think it's usually a long start, man. I mean, he kind of he just rides momentum too much, good or bad. He just he does one bad thing and he can't compose himself to get down. Now when he's on, I mean, he can use it as fuel and he really can have some good starts. And I think there was a stat last year. It's all of his starts he either gave up 1 or 0 runs or 5+ or something like that. And I think that pretty much just sums up Danny Duffy, to be honest with you.
But that's what I'm saying. When he's on and then messes up just one pitch, he'll let it spiral out of control. So you can't tell from the beginning of the game if it's going to be good. Because he could go 7 innings and then give up 6 runs.
That's true. But I mean, I'm typically saying if he does start off bad, he's not going to get it going. I'm not saying that if he starts off good, he's not going to unravel though. But yeah, that's true.
Another guy I want to mention is Homer Bailey.
He pitched too Michigan.
I'm not seeing much there. I really think he's spent. I was not so happy with us getting him.
I didn't necessarily dislike that signing just because I felt like we had nothing to lose. But yeah, out of all those pitching signings, that was probably the one I was the least enthusiastic about. I don't know if you saw, I hated his quote about, he said something about how, he's not, ready to wear pinstripes because his ERA is 6. Man, that's disrespectful to the Royals, man. We just won a World Series a few years ago. You gotta come in and respect this thing a little bit. Like, I don't know, it just made me feel like he was like in here to, like, he was just pissed to be here or something. I don't know. Wasn't a big fan of that. And then
See that.
on the mound, he I mean, he's been in the sixes the past couple years. I just don't really see much there, to be honest with you. I mean, it can't really hurt us just because, like, we're so depleted. Like, it's like there's like no net loss to picking him up, I guess you could say. But yeah, no, I don't really see Homer Bailey being a real huge contributor this year, at least in a good way.
Like I said, if he wants to be a Yankee so bad, I don't mind if he uses us to get his ERA looking good so he can become a Yankee. But, yeah, if he gets a 2.5 ERA, I wouldn't be mad. Go to the Yankees next year. I don't care.
If he performs, man, I don't care. He can say whatever. He could just be like, yo, like, fuck the Royals, man. Like, but, you know, put up numbers, it's all good.
We're dreaming. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't had a good season since 2014. We're 5 years later. And I mean, he's been crapola since.
You know what, though? He does have a no-hitter in his career, though, so maybe we'll get that. We'll break that novelty with Homer Bailey, you know? That novelty list.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, man. He's got the no-hitter magic going for him.
We'll break the novelty with Keller. There you go.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah. We still haven't mentioned Lopez either.
Yeah,
I think we break the novelty list streak. I think we get Brett Phillips a cycle in like 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
You know that takes 4 hits and he can't even get one.
2 years, man. You'll see what he can do. He'll be like 210 this year, and then he's like 270, and he gets like a big game.
If anyone's gonna get a cycle, it's gonna be Witt.
I think Mondesi probably has the best shot at the K because he can hit triples there.
Yeah, I think Mondesi as well.
Yeah.
Witt's right there, but I think Mondesi, Witt, I can see them both cycling. I think the only thing Brett Phillips is going to do is the hat trick. We'll see a couple of those.
Platinum sombrero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vodkas.
Yeah.
Zach mentioned Lopez. I don't know how he went this long without talking about Lopez. I mean, he's really making a fight for a rotation spot.
Oh, I like him. I like him to gain a spot, to be honest with you.
I mean, I know not to read into spring training a ton, but he's had like 9 1/3 innings. A few strikeouts, like 7 or 8, and only a 1 walk. It's pretty good. His outing against the Padres really showed me a lot.
Kyle, just curious, because me and Zach have talked about this on the pod before. What do you expect the starting 5 like pitchers in any order to be? If you assume we have a 5-man rotation, I don't know, but yeah.
I think Lopez is in there legitimately.
You got to think we have to throw out Kennedy, unfortunately, right? Like, he's got to be in there, like, with the money.
It's the money.
Yeah,
undoubtedly. Of course, you got Junis. I'm not doing this in any particular order, but Junis is one, and obviously Keller, opening day starter. The 5th is a real big question mark.
Well, if Duffy comes back, I mean, obviously it'll probably when he comes back, it'll probably be him. But yeah, like to start the year.
I'm not even gonna say Duffy. As crazy as it sounds, I'm gonna be thinking probably not. At least not at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And then Trevor Oaks. I don't know.
Oh, that's rough, man. That's rough. That's really rough. If that's your 5, but
I'm kidding. On the 5th, the 5th is really tough to say. I don't think it'll be Oaks, but
Han. I don't know.
I want to bring something up about Lopez.
Yeah.
Going back to the trade with James Shields and Wade Davis, everyone was talking about James Shields as a huge piece of that trade. And it's kind of like everyone's like excited about Phillips. But I think in the future, Lopez will end up being the bigger piece to that trade.
I'd agree.
We'll see. I think it's too early to say, in my opinion anyway, to say for sure. I mean, I don't necessarily think you're wrong. It could be, but I think Phillips still has time to get going. I mean, he's not super young, but he's old. We've seen older players learn how to hit. I don't know. It's just tough to say. regardless, I think that was a good trade. I mean, it happened a long time ago, the Moose trade, but we got players with decent upside, no real risk to it. So, you know.
I'm going to side with Zach. I definitely think Lopez is the bigger piece. I think everybody was on that. Phillips was kind of eye candy. Not to say that I give it up on him, but I just think Lopez is that good that even if Phillips does what he was expected, I kind of think Lopez could be, even better. I really liked what I've seen from him.
Yeah, well, go back to his 8-inning start where he gave up no hits. He went 8 innings. I mean, that shows you something.
Yeah, and I think with Lopez, he was kind of like he was always kind of presented as like the other piece in that trade. Like it was like Phillips was like the one that was really hyped, but I mean Lopez wasn't like some scrub. Like he was a top 100 prospect at one point. He's clearly got talent. He's really right up there as far as like raw talent level with Phillips in my opinion. Obviously, completely different positions. You can't compare the two players, but like just in terms of their value, I mean they're both about equally as important pieces in my opinion.
And I think we have to talk about the one elephant in the room, which is the bullpen.
Oh man, I mean I think when it comes down to it, because we've said our win predictions before Salvi, I would have said 72, 73. I think after Salvi, I'll go 68, 69. But the majority of that is like I don't necessarily hate our offense. I don't love our rotation, but like I can see it kind of if like Keller's good, if Junis is good, if some miracle Duffy comes back, like I could see it being serviceable, yeah. But the bullpen's going to lose us the majority of these games. I feel like that's really where it's going to be hard to win with this bullpen. Like it's going to be hard to win a major league ball game with this bullpen, like we already saw last year. It just in games where we're in the 5th or 6th inning, we probably won't be in around the 7th or 8th inning if they have to come in the game. We're either going to have to get great starting pitching performances or just build a big enough lead early on in games to where the bullpen can't reach it all the way. I like, we did some things. Boxberger helps a little bit.
I think I read today he broke a nail or something, and he's going to be out a while.
Oh boy, man, that's not good, man. That's a great.
Yeah,
I heard
it's somewhat soft injury, that you really shouldn't miss time for, but he'll milk it.
Yeah, man, that stinks. I thought we were getting like a real guy, and he's already chipping fingernails and going on the 60-day DL. But
this team, it's funny how just can't avoid injury. I mean, every team has its injury issues, but it seems like we've had an exclamation point on our injuries just in the last year. Now Salvi, there's another guy. It's like, next thing you know, Keller's going to end up having Tommy Johns, and I'm just sitting here like,
Man, speaking of Salvi, I'm gonna be a little bit pissed if I see him like in the like doing like Salvi splashes, like holding his arms above his head and like all this stuff when he's like on the DL, man.
Who's gonna do the Salvi splash? They're gonna
Salvi,
give
man.
The Maldonado splash.
The Maldonado splash, yeah. No, it's got to be Salvi still. He's still at the games. He's just gonna have to like.
He'll use the water cups.
Yeah, he's gonna have to use like a forklift to like get it above his head and like just like dump it that way, like a mechanical Salvi splash. But yeah, our water cups, yeah, that's even better.
And he's done that a few times, and there's been nothing left in the Gatorade bucket. It's gotten the cups out, filled it with some ice cold tap water.
Yeah.
He didn't do it last year when he fell down the stairs. That's so funny to me. When he fell down the stairs 5 days before the season started.
Is that what happened? I thought he like dropped his suitcase.
He was walking up the steps though, and he fell up the steps.
Oh my gosh, man.
He's so unathletic. I'm sorry. It's funny to call him an athlete.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's about as much of an athlete as like.
You?
Yeah, like me.
Well, he's just a tank with a great arm. I guess that's all you really need to be as a catcher. He's proven.
Yeah, man. You don't get like Dayton better like keep his eyes out though because you don't get that great of an arm with that when you're that little of an athlete without some, some NSFW internet activities going on.
I just hope Maldonado can hedge that gap. That's the big thing. I think he will.
Yeah, that was a great signing. I mean, I think it's gonna. It's not gonna, obviously it's still, losing Salvi is, a net negative, but I think when you add Maldonado there, it makes it, it's gonna make us, somewhat watchable this year, to where, I don't think, if we had Gallagher and Valoria, man, I don't think I could watch that, man. That's horrible.
Valoria's got great potential, but it's just too soon.
Yeah, no, it's way too soon. Even Gallagher, he's not ready for a full season. We already talked about that, but that would be a mess.
Yeah, it would be hard to watch.
Yeah.
Kind of hurt. Simon here said his win prediction. What's yours, Zach, for the Royals this year? With all the information you have now.
I don't think it's that much different. I would give us 74 wins.
74?
Yeah.
You think it goes, so you're thinking the same, more or less?
Me, I'm thinking around 68 to 70 wins, somewhere in that range. I would have said, I don't necessarily believe in the whole concept. I know with WAR and stuff like that, each player is worth a win, but I don't necessarily look at it that way. I feel like if we had a better bullpen, we would literally be 10 wins better, just because it's going to be a lot of games blown that wouldn't be. Yeah, I think without Salvi, I would probably take off 2 wins or so, 2 or 3 wins.
This team's actually really weird to predict.
Yeah, it could be so cool.
No clue. It could go pretty well, or it could get uglier than last year. That's the thing. I'm gonna need a good few weeks to the season before I can really get a feel of this team.
Yeah, well, it seems like the past few years, these horrible starts have just actually the last 2 years, really. I guess in 2017 we kind of made a little bit of a resurgence, but it takes the wind out of your sails pretty much, especially when you're not really predicted to do much. In spring training, you're kind of just everyone's expecting you to have a bad year. You come out, you start 3-15 or something like that, and the whole thing. The players lose all sort of motivation they have to actually prove doubters wrong. You just kind of assume they're right, and then from that point on, you're just kind of going through the motions. I think you basically, don't get me wrong, we were bad last year, but I do think that start really set the tone. I mean, we were definitely bad last year. I'm not saying we would have been much better with a better start, but it kind of, maybe we would have been a little better with a little better a start, not significantly, but yeah.
Well, you guys know I'm not shy about saying the record that I think we'll have. Last year I said 68 wins. Everybody ripped me for it, and we won 58.
So what are you thinking this year?
I'm thinking we go 55 and 107.
55 and 107. All right.
Yep. I mean, I just think, and it goes back to that bullpen. I think that it's just going to eat us alive. And you've got a lot of guys that are kind of variable. I think Zach said it, we could either be hot or cold. I could see us win 80. Honestly, it wouldn't blow me out of the water. But a lot would have to happen with the offense. And I just think there are too many question marks there, and you tie that in with the bullpen and then some variables in the starting pitching that aren't looking good. Danny Duffy, Homer Bailey's probably not going to amount to much. And so you're really good, 2 good pitchers, I think for sure, Keller and Junis. If they're both on, we still have 3 pitchers that are okay at best. So I think all that tied together is 50 wins.
I think going back to the bullpen, the one thing you mentioned, it wouldn't surprise you if you went 80, but you could also see 55.
Yeah, I know that's dumb to say, but
no, I don't disagree.
Really not, because that's how we all feel about this team.
Look how we played in August and September of last year, or late August and September. That was a really good baseball team. And that was with, a pretty similar team to what we're going to be seeing this year. I mean, but then you also saw stretches where didn't we lose we went on 2 11-game losing streaks in the same month or something like that in June.
Yeah, one of those would sink you. 2 is just
Yeah.
Injury.
Yeah, no, we literally lost like 22 of 25 or something like that at one point, like just horrible. So you see like kind of like both sides of the spectrum there, and and I think that pretty much just sums up the team. I think when it's all said and done, I think we're gonna have some hot streaks. I think we'll have some times where we look like we did, in late August and September last year. But I think for the most part, you're gonna see a lot of cold streaks as well. I think it's gonna be a little bit. I think we'll be improved from last year, but not anything too significantly.
No contention.
No, I mean, hopefully we get off to a better start and we can kind of stay respectable for a little bit. I mean, that's one thing you can kind of hope for, but maybe we can start off hot, carry over from September of last year. But personally, I actually think the bullpen this year is worse than it was last year, which is incredible because I thought it was like one of the worst I've ever seen last year. And I think it's going to be worse this year, unfortunately.
Remember how many runs we gave up? It was like 833. That's horrendous. And most of that was bullpen. This was 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. Eesh.
Yeah.
It was insufferable to go out with a big lead and just watch it vanish within an inning. I'd go grab a cheeseburger and come back and, 5 runs given up. Well, it's over.
I
Yeah.
honestly think you guys are way off. The bullpen's going to be way better than last year. And that's not saying much, but it will. Yeah, we have a lot of guys now that we can mix and match, and a few of them are going to have to be good. I mean, how many bad players can you have?
Well, look at the team last year. There's your answer. That was, of course, everything.
Yeah, but most of those guys aren't there, so.
It'll be
Do we
interesting.
still have Phil Meyer or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Yep, we do.
He looked pretty good at times.
I haven't actually seen how he's done this spring training, to be honest.
We have Kevin McCarthy still. I mean, that.
Yeah.
He throws garbage, but man, he knows where to locate it.
Even Boxberger. I mean, I like the Boxberger signing, but like, don't get it twisted. Like that, he's not like really a good pitcher, like at all. He's just kind of an average major league pitcher. It helps as far as his depth, but that's about it.
He's definitely over the hill.
Yeah, definitely.
My opinion.
Well, yeah.
One signing I
there's
do
guys
like is
like Old Lady and
but
Diekman, yeah.
yeah.
I'm excited about Little Lady. That's a guy.
Yeah, so we have guys we can put in there and just see how they perform.
I definitely say it's our biggest question mark. By far.
Yeah, it's definitely a question mark, but I think we could be a lot better.
I'm trying to think if we missed anybody. If like there's a
Peralta. What do you guys think about Peralta? Because he was okay last year, but do you think he's going to be okay this year?
I've never been his biggest fan. Even in his 2012 season when he was, looking decent, he's with Milwaukee for all those years. I just never, even when we faced him, Peralta would come out and I'd have confidence in our hitters. And now that he's pitching for us, I have confidence in the other hitters when he pitches. So I don't know.
I wouldn't keep him as a closer. But
no, definitely not.
Maybe he could do some good things. And then we also have Hill. So we'll just have to see how Ned manages it.
I think Hill is awful, honestly. I'm just going to keep it real. I think if things go as planned, I'm hoping Diekman kind of just like takes Hill's role completely.
Yeah, he had some good moments. I'm not going to call him awful.
He started off the year okay, but then it seemed like he was just giving up multiple runs every time he towed the slabs.
That's true. So, of this entire team, what is your guys' who's your dark horse? Who do you think is going to actually come out and that everyone's kind of like, and you think will actually perform really well?
We're talking pitching or position players or both?
I'd say any.
Okay.
You can do both too.
I said beginning, Owens. I think he's going to have a big season, yeah.
I don't know if you consider this a dark horse, but I think O'Hearn I think he's going to prove he's the real deal.
He took mine. That was mine.
I don't think it was. I mean, I don't think it. I was gonna say someone else though too. You can go with O'Hearn because I don't really consider him a dark horse.
Not really. League knows about him. He has incredible power. He had good state. He looked great last year, in my opinion. He looked. The numbers weren't impeccable, but he was a guy who came up and looked. I've always had. I've watched him swing in Omaha, and I've always really just liked his plate presence. He's a guy he's definitely like a couple war guy at least. So I think that's a good pick.
Well, yeah, he's a guy that we're not used to because we're not used to having that kind of power. I mean, he can really hit a lot of home runs. I could see him getting 40.
Yeah, I agree. He's a 40 guy for sure. Owings
both sides of the field too. I mean, those opposite field swings we saw last year, that game tire against Cleveland. I mean, he's got power. He's real like serious power. Pretty good plate discipline as well.
What was your other guy, Simon? You said you had two, right?
Oh yeah, my other one was Lopez. I think Lopez is gonna, I think he's gonna have a pretty big year. I don't really have any specific reason for that. I just think he really flashed some good signs last year. I don't know. I think when I say dark horse, I don't expect him to be 2 ERA guy, but I think he'll have a pretty solid year. This may be like a 3 or 4 starter come the end of the year.
It's fair. I'm kind of interested to see what Drew can do. Storin, yeah. He's in Washington. He always looked really good. Don't forget what year was it? Was it 2014? Man, he looked unhittable. I think it was 14.
He's a guy you even mentioned for the bullpen.
Oh, you want to talk about a major wild card? That's it right there. I could see him being awful. He's coming off of Tommy John. We got to remember that. So sometimes guys bounce back from that, and they're literally better than they were before the surgery. Other times it like wrecks their career. It really so.
One starter from Atlanta that was coming off Tommy John's that we signed a few years ago.
Chris Medlin.
Yeah, Medlin. That was a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
Helped us out a little bit.
He was kind of decent. Yeah, that was another underrated Dayton Moore pickup.
That would have been a great dark horse pick at the beginning of that season. Because there was, people knew about him, but there was a lot of doubt. Even I myself had a lot of doubt. I was like,
Yeah, we all called that in hindsight, Medlin, and we all called Chris Young and Kendrys Morales, and everyone knew Alex Rios would be terrible.
Yeah. Unfortunate. I have to agree on the pitching side. My dark horse is probably Lopez. I think he'll continue to improve on what he's done. Even though last season he didn't really do all that great. I think his ERA was like over 6. It's not ideal. I think what he's shown in spring training, I think he'll translate.
Yeah. I mean, I think in that small of a sample size, he didn't start that many games last year. But I don't really look at numbers too much in situations like that because I feel like you kind of just look for the flashes at that point. Like, you see like a good start here and there and you start to think, okay, maybe at some point this can become more repeatable. And I guess that's what I like about Lopez.
I've got one more question here. What about Cuthbert?
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
No. No. Cuthbert, I think a lot of people are unnecessarily harsh on Cuthbert. I don't think he's that awful of a player, but he's been in the league enough at this point to where I just feel like we know what he is. He might contribute a little bit this year. I like Cuthbert, but he's not gonna exceed anyone's expectations drastically. That's just in my opinion.
What expectations?
Well, yeah, that's true, but he's not gonna.
He's basically just useful for an interleague game when we have to keep putting in hitters for the pitchers. That's what we can use him for.
He's just organizational depth behind Moose. But last year, man, he really went off the cliff when he did play.
Didn't he get hurt last year? I thought he
his
hurt.
back, I think.
Yeah, he had some kind of back issue.
Yeah. What do you guys?
That kind of stuff can linger.
What do you guys expect out of Solera this year, coming back from an injury? Spring training, he's been hitting for some serious power too. So
I'd give him like maybe 28 homers.
Yeah, I think the main thing with Soler is his health. Like, I mean, he's had some injuries. He's kind of been injury prone at certain points. I think, last year obviously, and I think in 2017, he wasn't really hitting well, but I think he was dealing with some injuries as well, kind of through the minor leagues and as he was playing. So I don't know. I think that's something to keep an eye on there.
Last year, his average was like over 300 for most of the season.
There was a 2-week stretch in I think like May and June where he was just killing everything. I mean, he was hitting doubles left and right. He had some monster homers, and I mean, I think Soler is going to be a good player. He's really I'm surprised we haven't talked about him yet, but he's probably one of the most important players on this team, at least looking forward. So
he has power.
Yeah, I expect him to be pretty good this year. He's going to be one of our biggest power threats for sure. Probably, I would say him and O'Hearn. Probably Soler's the biggest, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was starting to really show some serious progress last year. He's got a lot of talent. I just hope you don't get a lot of rust from that injury. But yeah, I feel pretty good about Soler, especially the way he's been hitting in Arizona.
I do as well. I think if he could stay healthy, I would say he could hit 35 home runs, 30, 35, kind of in that range.
Oh, absolutely. Even in the K, I think so. I mean, he's got insane power. He's got pretty good at points last year. You saw he has really good plate discipline too. So I mean, if he could just take his walks, which not swing quite as freely, just hit for power. I mean, that's great. I mean, he'll be a great 3 or 4 hitter.
I know we say he can hit 35 home runs, but has he ever even come close to that? I don't think he has.
No, not even a third of that.
He doesn't seem like he's really stayed on the field for long enough to do it. That's been a big thing with him.
Yeah, that's assuming if he's healthy.
Yeah.
I don't say that about any guy, but if he plays 40 games like he's supposed to, 145, I think he could hit 30 plus. A lot of guys say that. That's
one thing that's just bothered me about Soler is it's just like it just frustrated me. It's just like, man, we see the flashes. Like, what can this guy do on a lot of rest, basically, or not rest, but a lot of getting a lot of significant reps to the point where he can develop a rhythm.
We'll have to see. He's a staple. I can tell you right now, if he gets injured, our offense is going to be significantly affected.
There's no power threat at all, especially without Salvi. So that's another.
It's just O'Hearn, basically.
Yeah, just O'Hearn, and maybe Gordon can provide us some power. Hopefully, maybe Witt, Mondesi, but yeah, really not much.
I could see Gordon and Witt probably in the 18 to 20 range.
Witt's going to hit a few. I don't really look to him to be a big power threat. I don't actually necessarily want him to be either. I kind of just like him hitting for average. I'd be fine if he hits 10 home runs, if he's hitting what he has the past few years. Just good defense, lots of stolen bases. Yeah.
I'd say Witt's probably going to hit a dozen.
Yeah, I would say 12, 15. But I'm not really too worried about his home run numbers, to be honest.
No, yeah, we want him for the average. His on-base percentage last year, man, he took so many walks, and that just was a catalyst for our offense.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I'm not a huge stats guy. I'd have to imagine Witt has to have a pretty high WAR. He's effective in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, it was over 5 last year.
Yeah, yeah.
There are not a lot of guys that can shoot over 5 WAR.
No, defensively he's great. Effective. He's really a 5-tool player, and maybe not so much power, but a 4.5-tool player. He's really great. One of the more underrated players, and I'm not necessarily saying he shouldn't be underrated the way he's played on some horrible teams, but he's really one of the most underrated players in baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's basically everything we thought Mondesi would be. He's got the speed.
Really.
He's got a little pop in his bat. Great average, on base percentage, defense. Yep, all your tools are there. And I tell you, if Mondesi continues to do what he's been doing in spring training, and Witt does what he's supposed to do, that's a pretty rough 1-2 you're dealing with. If you're the other team.
Yeah, no, that's going to cause a lot of problems. And Mondesi has a lot of power too. So I mean, that you don't think of him as like a big power threat like you think of Soler, but I think Mondesi's going to hit if all goes well. I think he could hit a decent amount of home runs this year.
Yeah, I'd say Mondesi. I'd put Mondesi probably about 15 to 20. I think that's
I would say around 20, to be honest, with Mondesi. I think Mondesi's going to have a big year this year. I mean, I wouldn't put him in the whole dark horse conversation we were talking about, but yeah, I think Mondesi's going to be pretty good this year.
Anything like spring training, yeah. I mean, but yeah, you say not dark horse because we thought last year he was supposed to be this kind of player. So
I could see Mondesi if it doesn't go well. I could see Mondesi falling into like the biggest disappointment for this year, though. So I mean, just because I feel like for the most part we have kind of like high expectations for him at this point.
Yeah, he's in that age where stardom really takes off.
Yeah, and he really kind of he had a great year last year when he was up. So I think and very consistent too. So I think at this point. And, given his prospect status, pretty highly ranked through the minors, he literally played in the World Series and he was pretty hyped at that point on. Yeah, I think Mondesi, he's definitely, he's given Royals fans a pretty reasonable expectation to be pretty good at this point, and just it would be a letdown if he didn't meet him.
Yeah, but he did this in 2017. 2017, he was hitting like a monster, won the second base job, and we know it happened. I mean, he looked like a high schooler at the plate in the main season.
Yeah.
So this is the first time he doesn't have Esky taking his playing time.
Yeah.
So that could either help him or hurt him.
Just depends how confident he is, really.
I don't think that's going to be a huge. I don't think that's going to be a huge thing for Mondesi, just because I feel like at the end of last year, like really towards the end, but still, they kind of gave Mondesi the keys to shortstop. They were still playing Esky. They had like a little farewell tour for him. It kind of felt like he was like playing third and center in every position except shortstop, basically. So I think he got a little bit of a little bit of comfort playing every day, but again, that's still, for a month or so, not really the equivalent to what he's probably going to be seeing this year. Would definitely be seeing this year, actually, and obviously, and God forbid he gets hurt.
Yeah, it would be something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if we've missed anybody here we want to talk about. Oh, Bonifacio, that's one I just not thought of. His little suspension there. How do you think that'll affect him coming into this season?
Don't really have too high of expectations for Bonifacio. We saw without the juice, not much of a power threat. I kind of think you'll see the same thing this year. I mean, maybe he'll be okay at the plate. Terrible on defense. I think that's pretty much what I expect from Bonifacio.
I think there's just too much competition for his position.
That's another thing. I don't think he'll be able to get on the field as much as he maybe did last year. I think you're going to see Goodwin get some time. You might see Phillips get some time, even though we're obviously questioning that. There's Owings. I mean, yeah, there's just
too many bodies.
I don't think he's ever going to really be able to get into a rhythm at the plate, which he kind of found somewhat in 2017. So
I'm imagining that Soler is going to outright win right field. And that's just what I think.
Oh, really? You think Soler? See, I think Soler's just going to DH for most games, but
I mean, he's been improving in that category a little bit. I mean, we saw how terrible he was at first.
Well, he does have an arm. He has a great arm, and
Yeah, he does. That's
yeah,
a lot of value right there.
a lot of times, baseball outfields are configured to where like your left fielder is like just like a really good natural defender, basically like Gordon. Center fielder is like your speedy guy, obviously usually a pretty good defender as well. Your right fielder is shaky, but they also like a good. You can get away with having a shaky defensive right fielder in terms of like fielding, is if they have a really strong arm. Like Stanton, for example, is not necessarily the best right fielder, but he's got a cannon.
Yep, and remember Frenchie? Remember how exciting that was, watching him gun people out from right field, getting the assist.
Yeah, he was pretty spotty too in terms of like actual defense. So, but
right,
yeah,
I think Soler fits that role perfectly. So it's kind of like it's a lot of people won't die on that sword, but I will. I really think.
I mean, it could work out. I mean, Soler was kind of like to the point last year though, where like he could like barely keep the ball in his glove. Like he had like kind of some of the raw tools, but like he was just sort of clumsy. It felt like.
It's like he got too excited.
But
you got too excited. You get really excited with something, fumble or drop it. You see it in sports all the time. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Remember that Cleveland game where he snow coned like a routine ball?
Oh man, it just barely was in there.
I think there was like a guy in scoring position too. Could be wrong, but that was pretty scary.
They zoomed in. It was like by a thread.
Yeah. Oh, like literally, yeah. Like he had to use his offhand to like assist.
Remember when we let Aoki play right field in 2014? He kind of reminds me of him in a way.
I disagree. I thought Aoki was actually everyone thought he was like so horrible because he was playing on like such an amazing defense. I don't think Aoki it looked bad, but I don't think Aoki was that horrible defensively.
He took awful routes to every fly ball.
That's true. It didn't look pretty, but he catch the ball. Like he didn't really commit that many errors. It was a mess, but
he just had raw athleticism. That was the only thing I saved him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he didn't really like catch the ball how you're like taught to. Even like his diving catches, like they were a mess. But I don't know. Like, I guess looking at the numbers, I don't think he's he's not great, but he's definitely the worst on that team. But like from like a major league standard, like I don't think he was awful. Like I think Bonifacio and Soler defensively are way worse. All right, and I think that just about does it for tonight.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on.
Touches on everything I wanted to talk about tonight.
All right. So thank you everyone listening to Yals Truly. Thinking about coming back on Sunday or sometime next week for a March Madness podcast previewing the bracket. So if you guys are interested in that type of thing, please let us know on Twitter. I plan on posting this on Facebook, so you can let us know on there. Let us know on Instagram. Follow us on all our stuff. Subscribe on YouTube. And thank you, Kyle, joining us tonight.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, good having you, man. And thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.